The last time I spoke to my younger brother, he was sitting on the curb outside our old school and said, "Do you ever think we peaked too early?" I thought he was just being melodramatic, but I haven't seen him since he left town that weekend without a word. We were sitting on the curb outside our old middle school. The same spot we used to wait for Mom when we were kids, legs swinging off the edge, trading juice boxes for bites of granola bars. That day, though, our legs didn't swing. We just sat there in the fading orange light, our backs to the parking lot, the wind lifting bits of dust into the air. Ryan was smoking a cigarette, which he always tried to hide from me even though we were both adults by then. I never called him out on it. I think he wanted to still be someone I could be proud of even though we were way past pretending. He looked up at the school building, squinting a little. "Do you ever think we peaked too early?" he asked. I laughed. Not a mean laugh. More of a surprised one. "What does that even mean?" He shrugged, didn't smile. "Just feels like everything after 8th grade's been a slow slide downhill." I remember telling him he was being dramatic, that we were both fine, that lots of people would kill to have our problems, student loans, boring jobs, too many bills. But we had our health, right? And each other. He didn't argue, just nodded slowly and put the cigarette out on the pavement with his shoe. That was the last time I saw him. He left town that weekend. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't answer his phone. He'd been living in our old room in Dad's basement for the past 2 months after his girlfriend kicked him out. I figured he'd just had enough and wanted a clean break. It wasn't the first time he vanished for a while. But this time it was different. After a week with no word, I drove to Dad's. His room looked the same. The twin mattress on the floor, laundry in a pile by the wall, some empty fast food bags. His duffel bag was gone. The old Polaroid of us in our baseball uniforms was still stuck to the wall with peeling tape. Dad hadn't even noticed he was gone. He said something about needing space. Dad told me, more annoyed than worried. He'll be back. But he wasn't. I filed a missing person report after a month. The cop at the desk asked if he had any history of mental illness, drug use, criminal behavior. I wanted to lie, but I didn't. They didn't find anything. No sightings. No transactions on his bank card. His social was never flagged. It was like he stepped off the edge of the world. I kept thinking about what he said that day, about peaking too early. It didn't seem like much at the time, but the more I sat with it, the more it started to sound like something else, like someone giving up. Ryan was always more sensitive than he let on. Always felt like he was falling behind, like he missed some door everyone else got to walk through. I used to think he was just lazy or lost. Now I wonder if he saw something coming that I didn't. Sometimes I drive past that school and look at the curb where we sat. It looks smaller now. The kind of place 2 kids might wait for their mom, not 2 grown men trying to make sense of their lives. If I could go back to that moment, I wouldn't laugh. I'd ask what he meant. I'd tell him he wasn't alone, even if it felt like it. But now I just carry that sentence around in my head like a splinter I can't get out. I still check my email sometimes hoping for a message from some strange address, something short like, "I'm okay." But it never comes. And the worst part is, I don't know if he meant to leave for good, or if something happened to him after he did. All I know is the last thing he ever said to me was a quiet question. And I didn't take it seriously. Have you ever looked back on a single sentence and realized it was a goodbye? Because I think about that curb every week. And I still see him sitting there, looking older than he should have, waiting for me to understand something I didn't. 3 years went by. His name stopped coming up in family conversations. Mom would change the subject. Dad acted like Ryan never existed. I think it hurt them more than they let on. Or maybe it was easier to pretend he'd just chosen another life than to accept that he might be gone. I moved twice. Changed jobs. Got married. But every now and then something would bring him back, a hoodie left at the back of a closet, an old voicemail from years ago, drunk and laughing at nothing. Then last winter I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a guy named Nick. Said he used to bartend at a dive in St. Paul. "I think your brother used to come in here," he said, kind of unsure. He told me Ryan had shown up one night, drunk and quiet. Used a fake name, but when the guy saw the missing person flyer someone had once tacked to the back wall of the bar, he thought the face looked familiar. "He gave me a letter to mail," Nick said. "But I forgot. Found it behind the register cleaning out old stuff. He mailed it to me the next day. It was 1 page. written in blue ink on a hotel notepad. The handwriting was his, no doubt. Hey, if this ends up with you, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disappear like that. I just didn't know how to keep being me without feeling like a failure every day. You always made things look easy. I know they weren't. I know I leaned on you too much. I was just tired of being the one everyone expected to get it wrong. I'm not dead. At least not yet. Just trying to find out if there's a version of me that doesn't feel like a disappointment. Don't come looking. It won't help. Tell Mom I still think about her pancakes. Tell Dad. I don't know. Nothing, maybe? That was it? No return address. No clue what state he was in. The hotel he wrote it from had closed 2 years earlier. I read that letter 100 times. I still don't know what to do with it. I didn't show Mom. Didn't tell my wife. It felt like something too fragile to share. Sometimes I wonder if he ever wrote again and just never sent those either. If there's a whole pile of words somewhere he meant for me to read but got too scared to mail. I haven't heard from Nick since. The bar shut down. I don't know if Ryan's still alive. But I keep that letter in my glove box, folded into a small square. I read it when I feel like maybe he never existed at all. Last month I got a knock on my front door. It was late, close to 9, and I almost didn't answer. But when I looked through the peephole, I saw a woman standing there in a faded denim jacket holding a backpack with one hand and a manila envelope with the other. She looked nervous. Maybe mid-30s. Dark hair pulled back. Not someone I recognized. You're James, right? She asked. I nodded. I used to know Ryan. That was all it took. My stomach dropped like I was on an elevator that just lost power. Her name was Elise. She said she met Ryan in Duluth not long after he left. He was going by Rob back then, she said. Worked nights at a warehouse. Slept on a buddy's couch. I didn't say anything. I just waited. She reached into the backpack and pulled out a worn notebook. The front cover was bent, the spiral binding barely holding together. I don't think he meant for me to keep this, she said quietly. But I couldn't throw it away either. He wrote in it every night, like it was the only thing keeping him together. She handed it to me. And then she told me he was gone. Not dead. Not exactly. He left town again. One morning just disappeared. No warning. I waited a week before checking his stuff. Found this under his pillow. I asked when this was. She said 3 years ago. So he vanished again. Like smoke. I flipped through the pages that night. The entries weren't dated. Some were just fragments, sentences half-formed. Others were whole paragraphs, deep and sharp and painful. I think I'm built wrong. Everyone else gets up and moves forward. I feel like I'm dragging a dead version of myself behind me. I miss James, but I don't know how to talk to him without lying. There's a part of me that wants to disappear so cleanly no one ever finds a single thing I left behind. If I ever get out of this, I'm going to call him. Not to explain. Just to say thank you. I didn't finish the notebook in one sitting. I had to stop every few pages just to breathe. It was like seeing the inside of his mind all those years, the weight he was carrying, the shame, the way he looked at me like I was someone better, even though I never felt that way. The next day, I tried to call the number Elise left, but it was disconnected. It's like people who know Ryan only stay long enough to deliver a message and then they vanish too. The weirdest part? There's a sentence on the last page. Scribbled like it was written in a rush. If anyone finds this, I tried. I swear I tried. It's not a goodbye. Not really. But it's close. And I don't know if that was the end of the line for him or just another moment he thought was the end. I didn't sleep the night I read that notebook. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. Not the version of Ryan I grew up with, not the kid who used to stack Legos taller than we were, or the teenager sneaking beers behind the shed, but this version I never really knew. The one who kept breaking quietly out of sight. I kept thinking, if he was still out there, how could I just sit here and do nothing? So I tried something. I posted online. A quiet post on a few missing persons forums. Left out his real name. Just said, looking for a man I used to know. Could be going by Rob or a different name entirely. Writes in cheap notebooks. Smokes when he's anxious. Tall, quiet, brown eyes. Last seen in Duluth. I didn't expect much. But about a week later, someone messaged me. A guy from Kansas City. Said a man matching that description had come into his bookstore a few months back. Asking for books on Buddhism and then sitting in the back to read for hours. Paid in cash. Talked real soft like he didn't want to wake something up. He didn't give a name, the guy said. But I remember because he wrote in a little notebook while he read. Didn't even buy anything. Just thanked me for being kind. That could have been anyone. But it also could have been him. I sat with that message for a long time. At first, I told myself I'd go. I even looked up flights, mapped out the route to that bookstore. But then I started thinking, what if he didn't want to be found? What if showing up ruins whatever peace he's finally found? What if all I'm doing is dragging him back to a version of himself he's spent years trying to escape? That's the part no one talks about, that searching for someone isn't always the kindest thing. Sometimes it's selfish. Sometimes it's just us trying to fix a guilt that's going to live in us no matter what. So I didn't go. I left the post up, but I haven't followed up on any new leads. I keep that notebook in a drawer by my bed now. I don't open it often, but just knowing it's there makes me feel closer to him than I've felt in years. Every now and then, I still get this thought. Like maybe he's out there, sitting on some curb outside a different kind of school, watching people walk by and wondering if this is the life he was meant to have. And maybe, for the first time, the answer is yes. I don't tell people I have a brother. Not because I'm ashamed. Just because I never know what to say when they ask, where is he now? How do you answer that? He's not dead. He's not here. He's somewhere between those two things, and I'm still standing in the middle, waiting for a sign that might never come. Sometimes I dream he shows up at my door, older, tired, but okay. We don't say much. Maybe we don't need to. He just sits down at the kitchen table, and I put a cup of coffee in front of him like no time has passed. And sometimes, in those dreams, he's just a kid again, sitting on that curb, asking me that question like he already knew the answer. Do you ever think we peaked too early? I still don't know. But I know now he wasn't being dramatic. He was telling me the truth the only way he knew how. And the part one can't shake, the part that gets me every time, is that I laughed. That's the last thing he heard from me. Not I see you. Not I'm here. Just a laugh. So now when someone asks if I have any siblings, I pause for a second. I think about that curb, that question, that letter, that notebook. And then I say, yeah, I do. And I leave it at that. Because I think part of me is still sitting beside him on that curb. And I don't know if I ever got up.